live. Okay, before I start jabbering off, can you guys hear me okay? If you can, put a 1 in the chat. Last time I had a little audio issue, so I'm just going to wait to see a thumbs up or a 1 real quick. I think it's working, though. Looks like it is. Real quick, shout out to Sensei. It's their birthday. Happy birthday, Sensei Wackadoodle. Been a long-time member of the show and supporter. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, and happy birthday again. Also, we have Tom. I believe something happened, but turned into an accident, attempted robbery, altercation, running from someone, or something. Maybe he tripped over. Possible. I think we'll definitely hear some new interviews that suggest there could have been possibly foul play to some degree. They found, for those that are familiar with the case, there were supposedly like 2 homeless people that had all last saw Riley after he walked past the cop. And the one that we heard the interview weeks ago said that, he was kind of standing off to the side and saw Riley fall into a bush, and there was another guy with him. And so, of course, they interviewed the one guy that was standing off to the side, but they wanted to interview the guy that supposedly last talked to Riley. According to the family, they had found that guy. And his statement's really interesting. And then the statement from the first guy, because, there's the 2 homeless guys or 2 homeless people that have done interviews now. And the first one supposedly has now backtracked on his story. So it's getting weirder by the day. And we'll just kind of recap this timeline, recent interviews. There's a lot in this case. It's really odd. Anyway, I just want to say thank you guys taking the time to watch the channel. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm Chris with Monsters Under Our Bed. We cover true crime, mystery to the missing. Before we get started, we always like to feature a missing person at the beginning of the show. And this is Bradley Close, last seen April 8th of this year, so missing 4 days now. He is also, I believe, has autism. Just 16 years old, 6 feet, 175 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. Last seen wearing a black shirt, black fitted sweatpants, and black shoes. Bradley left Fry's at Lake Pleasant Parkway at Happy Valley Road on foot with no other items. This happened in Peoria, Arizona. He was later seen on camera at Joe Max on 75th Ave, walking east at approximately 6 p.m. Bradley has been diagnosed with autism, and his family is extremely concerned for his safety, as this is not his typical behavior. If you see Bradley, please take a photo and call the PI below. So if you have any information, if you're out there regarding Bradley, you can call this number 602-732-0081. And one more thing before we get to Riley. Again, a lot of you know, tomorrow I'm going to be going out searching for Aiden Clune. He went missing 2 years ago, April 27th of 2022 in Wells, Nevada. We've covered his case a lot on this channel. If you want to learn more about it, you can check out my playlist on Aiden Clune. But anyway, we're going out searching for him tomorrow, so I have to go. After this show, I'm pretty much going to get ready for bed because I've got to get up at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning so I can make a 3-hour trip into Wells, Nevada. But thanks to you guys, we got a drone ready. I've got it all charged up. I took a flight test. Everything is good now. So I just want to thank you guys so much for the support. Any donations that do come in, that'll go towards the search and more searches. This will be the first one, and then I'm going to plan on another one, which is Gwen Brunel, but we'll talk about that down the line there. So again, thank you guys so much. So I will get this going so that I can read chat. Buddy, we'll recover. All right. just in case there's anybody that's not familiar with this case, I am just going to play a small little recap of his story. It's about 1:30 long, and then we'll get into the new stuff for those that haven't heard about it. True crime mystery to the missing. This is some of the last known video of college student Riley Strand, just 22 years old, from Springfield, Missouri. He went on a trip with some friends to Nashville, Tennessee. They went out to the famous Luke's 32, Luke Bryan's bar on Broadway, for some fun on Friday, March 8th. Later that evening, Strand was kicked out of the bar because he was too intoxicated. He was kicked out without incident, as family and friends of Strand said he's a sweet kid and non-confrontational.
Saturday afternoon, about 16 hours after Riley was last seen, some of his friends came here to the Central Precinct hoping to report him missing. When they couldn't get into the lobby, that's when they called 911.
Okay. What is his name? His name is Riley Strand. Okay, and what color clothing was he last seen wearing? He's wearing jeans, boots, and a black...
Riley Strand is caught on multiple cameras stumbling down the street a few blocks from the bar, and it appears he hits his head really bad. In the next video, it seems he is touching and grabbing his head, and from there he is acting really dazed and confused. Strand is sadly caught on another video for the last time near a toll bridge next to the Cumberland River. His last cell phone ping was just before that at 9:58 p.m.
Live at the scene, Alexander.
Okay, and all right, let me turn this up. So that was just a little recap, and then of course they found his body. Was about 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks after he went missing. It's been a minute since I've covered this case, so I forget the exact timeline. But sadly, they would find his body downriver. It was caught up on this barge, and I actually have the full 911 call. I think when this first came out, they only had like a portion of the 911 call. It's not very long, but if you haven't heard it, we'll play it. It's not graphic. It just describes a few extra things that people may have not heard. Also, I just want to quickly shout out Connie. Good luck and safe travels this weekend. Let's all hit that like button. Yes, please. First, thank you so much, Connie, for the $20. And yes, I really appreciate that. And I wouldn't be able to go out searching for the missing if it wasn't for you guys. Let's see. Okay, we're caught up. So here's just a little news report of them finding him. And then I think we have the 911 call.
What are you saying?
Kelsey, right here off Ed Temple Boulevard, we just saw a medical examiner transport being escorted by Metro Police, leaving the scene.
Yeah, okay,
and
thank you,
according
Hope
to Sky 5, Mike Rose, our chief photojournalist, saw what appeared to be a body under a tarp. You can see here, the river's pretty far away, but this is where I believe Pilot J and some other companies have oil. But we have seen a large police presence here, and I was able to speak with a Metro Police officer who tells me that Riley Strand's parents were called here to this scene. Obviously, we are waiting on developments at this time. We are told the media will be briefed, but a lot of people across the country who've been following this story are waiting to know, is this Riley? Will his parents now have peace or closure from this? You can see there's an escort of officers who are still leaving this area. As soon as we have more information here in North Nashville off Ed Temple Boulevard, we'll make sure that we bring it to you guys.
So, of course, whatever happened, we don't know the full story. Maybe one day we will, and we will talk about that because there's supposedly more cameras that may have caught what happened, and that's what the family's after right now, and we'll get caught up with everything. But whatever happened, he went into the Cumberland River just by Gay Street, by the one bridge there, James Robertson Bridge. I mean, like I said, it's tough when you cover a bunch of different cases, and I don't have my notes. I always have a notepad with me, and I'm taking notes for every case, And since I moved on to other cases, I don't know what I did with it. It might be in a different notebook. Anyway, he ended up traveling his body, sadly. Let's see, how many miles was it? It was about approximately 6. Well, if it was a straight line, it's about 6 miles. But if you went around the curve, that's probably like 8 to 10 miles approximately. And then they found him near a barge here over here. And so we have the full 911 call if you haven't heard it, which we'll play here in just a second. And then that's where they brought his body in, because a lot of footage that we saw was them kind of hovering over here. They ended up, because this is the nearest place that they could get a boat out, so they took the boat out from here and then went and recovered the body and then brought it back up here. Again, if you're just tuning in, we're just starting. We'll have some newer interviews with Chris, the family friend. Here is the full 911 call if you haven't heard it. It's not very long, but it has a few extra details.
Exact location of your emergency.
Yes, ma'am. I'm at 1740 61st Avenue North, Nashville, Tennessee. I just
61st Avenue North in the nation's office of Centennial.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what happened?
Turn that up a little.
My company works on the river. I have just found a dead body. I believe it to be Riley.
And you said you guys found a dead body?
Yes, ma'am, in the river. We unload barges at this facility,
What does it
and
look
I was
like?
checking around my dock. It's definitely got a person hair, black shirt, kind of like a white, muddy looking on the front. It's face down in the water. Yes, ma'am.
It's a
Caucasian.
It looks like a male.
Yes, ma'am.
Is he completely submerged, or is he right on that, like the bed? Not the bed, but like is he partially in the water, partially out of the water?
No, he's fully submerged besides his back sticking out of the water. I actually had to move a log off of the head to confirm it was a body.
Okay. I have this call up, and I'm gonna get somebody out there. Okay.
No, all right. I'll meet them up top. I'm gonna make my way up from the river here in just a few minutes.
Okay. All right. I'll let you go.
All right. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So that was the full 911 call if you haven't heard it. So a few extra details. You know, we heard the tarp thing. He didn't mention that in the 911 call, but he mentioned a log, which they hadn't mentioned before. Apparently that was kind of on his head. But it'd be interesting to note which way his body was facing. And I only mention that because his clothing, his pants, his boots, apparently he had a belt on as well, all came off. And so was that from the river, or did that happen before he went in? And we'll listen to experts a little bit later in the show kind of explaining how there's certain items that he could see coming off the body, but other things he would say are kind of disturbing. So this is what he had on him for anybody that is not familiar. All of these items here, and what he had on him when they found the body was the t-shirt. He mentioned a black t-shirt because on the back it's black. And he had his boxers on. I don't know if they mentioned socks or not. I can't remember. And then what's curious is I haven't heard anything about the Apple Watch. Let me know in the chat if you heard anything. I have not heard if that was recovered or not. It'd be interesting to know if he had that on him. I would think that would stay on him. Unless he blowed it up. I don't know, because, you know, you do blow it up when you start decomposing. I don't know about the limbs, how much they actually blowed up. On the right is what's missing. He had his pants. He supposedly had a belt on. These boots, which are going to be very interesting. Chris, the family friend, talks about these boots. I've never worn cowboy boots, so I don't have any experience behind wearing those. But he said these particular boots that he had on were size 15. He had size 15 feet. Boy, I'm so glad I stopped at 13. But he said that those boots, he can't imagine those boots coming off. So that's kind of interesting. Missing his wallet, and then missing his phone. And there's actually, if you guys haven't heard, there's an interview about one of the homeless people that supposedly found a phone and threw it back in the river. So, kind of interesting. Oh, Dragons, I just wanted to say thank you so much for the $3 euro. I really appreciate that. And if anybody donates like Venmo or PayPal, if you can, just let my mods know so that I can shout you out. So they did have the autopsy. They're still waiting on the toxicology report. They said no foul play suspected. Death appears accidental. Toxicology results pending. So the family wasn't happy with the original autopsy. So they went and had a second autopsy done. And I think both said no water in the lungs. So possible dry drowning, which does occur, but it usually occurs when you have some kind of head injury. And I'll have to talk about a case that actually happened here in Utah. That was very strange. It was a dry drowning as well. A body was found. This poor girl. They found her body. And yeah, there was no water in the lungs, and so they thought it was kind of suspicious and thought there might be foul play. I went to that apartment complex, and anyway, the place that she could have fell in has all these rocks around it. But anyway, well, if I get time, we'll talk about that. But missing shoes, pants, wallet, we kind of went over that, and still waiting on a toxicology report. But what's interesting is they don't mention anything about head trauma. And we're going to listen to the forensic guy talk about all the dry drownings that he's dealt with. He dealt with 4,000 drowned bodies, I believe, approximately, he said. And he said out of those 4,000, only 12 were dry drownings. And he said all 12 of those, they had some kind of head trauma. So I would think they would have mentioned in the original medical autopsy that he had some kind of head trauma.
Footage shows him stumbling away in the opposite direction of his hotel. Witnesses say he was drunk and that he admitted to them that he couldn't walk straight. After an extensive 2-week search, yeah, Riley was found in the Cumberland River, about 8 miles away. He was without his pants, his wallet, or his cowboy boots.
So this is one of the most recent interviews with Chris Dingham. And this is where he's going to talk about possible new surveillance footage that they can get, which may show, and I'll show where that is while this is going on, and also the interview with supposedly the last person that saw them.
That he was wearing the night he went missing. His family also says he was wearing a belt that night, which should have kept his pants in place. An autopsy by the Nashville Police Department found no obvious signs of foul play. It has ruled Riley's death an accident, pending toxicology results, which take weeks. Riley's family says they're getting conflicting information from police in a case where security video and witnesses could help put the puzzle pieces together. Joining us now is the Strain family friend, Chris Dingman. He's been on this show many times. Hi, Chris. Welcome.
I just want to say, give a big shout out to Chris. I mean, he has been making the rounds, working with the family, working in what they call the war room, wherever that is, where they they collab, and he's just, it seems like since day one, since Riley was missing, this guy has been just making the rounds on interviews and getting the word out there and updates and everything. And just a huge shout out to him. That's amazing.
You've raised a lot of questions about video from several security cameras on a detention center in downtown Nashville. Why is this important?
The detention center is just north of the last ping on Riley's phone, and it was the only video that we had been released to the public about the sidewalk north of where Riley went missing. There's some really grainy pictures off on the side, etc. But over the weekend, we found out that detention center not only has that camera.
So the detention center, so this building, for those that are familiar with the case, there was the Birch camera, the Birch building camera, which it points north. I kind of think about it. Kind of points north. It doesn't point actually like directly east, I think, towards kind of like the sidewalk. I mean, it still captures the sidewalk, but it's pointed more north. And anyway, there's the building right next to it. And as you can see here, not one, but two cameras. And there's even more, not just these two.
But possibly three more. We know of at least two that faces east back towards that. Plus, we've got a picture of one facing due south towards the bridges. So we would love to see the footage. Even though it's the sheriff's department, we now do have confirmation that there are cameras that was pointing back towards the bridge where Riley went.
And I just kind of paused the interview. So just to kind of show you guys. So, supposedly whatever happened here. Because obviously we don't see him after pretty much. So here's the Birch building here. And you remember the cameras, I kind of turned it a little early, but the cameras are sitting right there. But they're not really facing, towards the sidewalk. They're facing, I believe that's north. And so you kind of get this view. So you really miss, there's a huge kind of gap of from the officer to the Birch building. But you have these two cameras here, which they believe we're going, and they should have the footage. And not only that camera, I had to find the other one for a minute, but it's this camera here. See in just a second, just a little bit down the street, and boom. And they say that camera, I'm pretty sure it's that camera, they say is actually facing, so it's facing us if we're looking at it, is what Chris is claiming. And that footage would, although it'd be kind of zoomed back, it's still facing the direction that, that we're kind of missing. So it'd be kind of interesting what is on that footage. So that's where it's facing. So that would be huge because, the reports say that he made it somewhere to this second bridge and then something happened. So, there was like, three cop cars. You'd wonder if they had their dash cam on because they passed around. We talked about it at approximately 9:54.
So these cameras that you're talking about near this detention center, these cameras would have been the final images of Riley Strain that night.
Should have been, yes.
And could have conceivably caught how he wound up in the river, if he fell on his own or if somebody pushed him, something like that.
Something that has come about too, and this was breaking with us this weekend and then actually yesterday verified. The reason that footage is so incredibly important to the family is the person of interest that the family had been wanting to see, the homeless person that we knew had been the last person to talk to Riley up on top of the roadway. We got to talk to finally. He actually reached out Saturday afternoon to some friends of ours that was down there talking with the homeless. Actually gave a statement, him and another person, that Riley had come through there, had been stumbling, possibly stumbled into the little fence that's right there. They asked him if he was okay. He says, "Yeah, man, I'm just drunk," something along those lines. And they put him walking underneath the bridge north, pass through the detention center area.
So apparently, what he's saying is that this guy that supposedly last saw him, because remember there's two of them. There's one that was kind of standing off to the side, and just kind of heard them talking. And this guy saying he checked on him, and then he said he continued, but obviously something happened like right here. So, like, how would this guy miss what happened to Riley? Because whatever happened somewhere right in this area. So, I don't know. It seems a little sus to me. Let me know what you think in the chat. And we're going to learn a little bit more. Like I said earlier, we find out that the original guy, the guy that's supposedly like standing right by this bench right here, and then so you got the first homeless person to come forward, and then the one that they've been looking for a long time, somewhere around in the bush. That's at least where they, according to the first homeless guy, that the one that was next to Riley was somewhere around here. But the first one that was standing by the bench, apparently, recently, says reports are that he's retracted his statement. So, I don't know, it's kind of sus.
They put him walking underneath the bridge, north, pass through the detention center area. That was huge. That was something we had been looking for. A lot of times, though, sometimes the homeless people, they'll say something to you and me, or not a policeman, and, just to be having a conversation. Right. So Monday, another one of our associates was down there. The gentleman showed back up again. We were able to call the detectives. The detectives showed up, and verbatim what we were given Saturday evening, he told the detective his account of the story of what he transpired and saw what happened to Riley. So, Chris, which really, go ahead.
No, finish your sentence. Which really what?
It just shocks the family. Yeah. This is the first person that we've been looking for almost a month. Saturday will be a month. Well, actually the 8th, today's 30 days. And he finally come forward. The fact that his story 2 days later is spot on, and the couple that actually talked to him Saturday videoed it and wrote it down, because they wasn't for sure if we were going to get to meet this gentleman again. And the lady that was there with the officer that took the statement had already heard what we had heard Saturday, and she even verified in the family war room last night. It was basically verbatim. There was no deviation on what was told to the family Saturday night, the family friend, and what the detective was told yesterday. So it doesn't explain the phone, unless possibly Riley, when he fell into the fence, the phone fell out of his hand. Also, another little bit of information. We've been told pretty much from day one that a homeless person in that area had found a phone that night, could not open it, and threw it in the river.
So that's interesting. So that we hadn't heard that before. So supposedly, and I don't know if it was one of those two or a third homeless person found a phone. They couldn't unlock it. To me, it doesn't make sense why they would throw it in the river. Does that make sense? Don't you think they would try to, I don't know, like sell it or something? I don't know. That just seems a little sus. Just to I can't open it. Because it was an iPhone. I mean, that's an expensive phone. Or even hold on to it. Maybe somebody comes, the original owner comes back and, you give it to them, and maybe they give you $5 or, whatever, a little reward or something. Yeah, to me, let me know what you think about that story. It kind of seems sus. And that's not pointing any bad, juju towards the homeless people, I've been there. For those that know my backstory, I had some medical issues, and unfortunately I lost my job, and then eventually lost my apartment, was living in a car, and then was on the street for a bit, and then finally a few years later slowly got back on my feet. And so I've been there, not for very long, so I can't say I've experienced the worst of the worst, but I would say I hit a rock bottom. But yeah, it's a little weird.
That dates back all the way to the Monday and Tuesday following Riley's disappearance. So that was also part of his conversation that he gave to the family Saturday. family member, friend of the family,
Okay.
and also to the
I wanna
detective.
track him. Yeah.
So it's huge information. What we transpire and go from there, I don't know, but the police have been made aware of it.
So thanks so much for watching.
Yeah,
Go to join.
No
It's
hesitation.
really weird. So here's just the short clip. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this, but I just want to play this because we're going to go into, I mean, if he fell over from where they believe he did, he had to have had some kind of major injury to himself. Because you've got this drop. I forget what they said. What was that, like? I want to say like 30 to 50 feet. I can't remember the approximate. From, the top to this rocky bottom down here. It's a big drop. And I'm assuming being inebriated, and let's just say if it was an accident, and he flipped over that railing or the little wooden fence thing that's only looks like it's only like 3 feet tall. So I would think if Riley tripped over that, he would go head first. He may flip. I mean, I guess it's big enough that he may flip, but he's gonna have some injuries. But there's, according to the medical examiner, they haven't mentioned that, and we'll learn more about that here in a bit. But they found his credit card over here. So basically what I'm trying to get the point to is, the only way if he fell in and didn't have any injuries would be down to the left, because there's like a slope. If we go to the left a little bit, I'll just pull it up on Google Earth here. I'll explain it a little bit better. I'm sure most of you know what I'm talking about. Where are we at here? Yeah, there we go. So from about here to here is like that really steep area. Oh, actually, you know what? Probably better to just do it like this. So you have the steep area all along right here, and then there's the more, instead of a drop, there's a very steep slope right here, which there I could see if he went in right here, he would tumble, maybe have some minor injuries, but then just go into the river. But how in the hell, if he dropped down in here, how in the hell did his credit card end up over here? Like, I don't know how many feet that is, but I'm sure that's at least 30, 40 feet from there to there. So it's odd, really odd. So I'm just gonna play this real quick. It's just a small clip. I know most of you've seen this many times, but I don't know. Things are adding up, and
Well, I know
more information.
They would have like a couple spots, like old fire pits or something. Old spots they'd burn stuff to see around like that.
I don't think they do right here, or at least where that guy's tent is, because he's talking about how cold. What? You found his credit card? We found his credit card. We gotta hang up. We gotta hang up the phone.
Oh my god.
No hesitation.
I didn't know about you doing all that very well.
For anybody that doesn't know, that's literally right under the bridge.
Look at her. She's got a stick. That's my type of gal.
What?
So anyway, that is right here. So that would mean if you did flip over that, you would go down and have a rough fall. And then here's the area that I was talking about. If he fell right here, yeah, you would have this steep embankment and probably tumble down, get some scratches, maybe some bruises, and then go into the river. But that'd be, I mean, again, how does your credit card end up way over here? And again, did he have his credit card in his shirt pocket, or was it in his wallet? It'd be interesting to know. They have all the footage from the bar. It'd be really interesting to see what did he do with his credit card. It seems like they know, at least from surveillance footage, a lot of what happened in the bar. It'd be interesting to know if it shows him when he, pays his tab or whatever, what does he do with this card? It'd be really interesting to know that. Kathy Robinson, he needed help. It's hard watching him all by himself, heartbreaking. I know, and the worst thing is him walking right by that cop, That's the toughest thing. It's too bad that he just somehow pulled it together while he's walking past this officer, even though before that he's stumbling, he can barely, he's fallen into a cement pole, and then somehow pulls it together when he's coming by this officer. It's just too bad that, and then supposedly he stumbles, when he's out of sight of the officer, go figure. So this poor guy and his family. Thank you so much, Kathy. Daniel, thanks so much for the $5. Anyway, I'm going to keep playing. There's some more as well.
The body of Riley Strain was found submerged under a log in the Cumberland River, 8 miles downriver from where he was last seen. Strain still had on the white and black shirt he was last seen wearing, but his boots, pants, and wallet were missing. Officials say it's not uncommon for clothing to come off drowning victims in the water. The initial autopsy report says no sign of foul play, but the family has ordered a second private autopsy, saying no water in his lungs raises questions about drowning. The claim that the coroner noted a lack of water in Strain's lungs has not been publicly confirmed.
And the confusion about
that's
what really
interesting,
happened
Tiffany.
to Riley. I mean, I'd rather know. Look, he was rolled by some homeless people. We don't know who yet. But his pants didn't just float off in the water. That's not what happened. And I don't believe they or other items have been recovered yet.
And that's interesting, too. It'd be very interesting if those items ever show up. I wonder... Well, they couldn't pawn it, obviously. And they couldn't... You'd have to get into the phone. For anybody that knows, there's those machines at certain stores where you can sell old cell phones. It's called Eco something or something. I'm sure some people know what I'm talking about. The only thing is you have to be able to access it because you have to unlock it. That's obviously a safety protocol. So anybody just can't, steal a phone and then go sell it to this machine. And then also you have to have your ID, and it takes a picture of you. So it's, but yeah. Bushi, Chris, at your homeless rock bottom, what would you have done if you found an iPhone? I would have held on to it. I mean, I'm an honest guy. I mean, I would have held on to it, especially if it was locked. I mean, I'm certainly not going to toss it. I mean, that makes no sense. I figure I'd hold on to it, and if somebody comes by and asks for it, I would kind of hope that maybe they would feel bad, and I give it to them, and I get, $5, whatever. But yeah, tossing in the river doesn't, it just doesn't make sense.
Which you would think naturally they would follow the current where the body went, right? Well, they haven't. Joining me in all-star panel, but first I want to go to Joe Scott Morgan, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, and death investigator. He has investigated over 1,000 deaths. Joe Scott, again, thank you for being with us. This is a lot of information to digest, and I want to hear your analysis, especially about no water being in the lungs in a drowning case.
Listen, you're not always going to find water in the lungs, Nancy, in a drowning. You can have what's referred to as a dry drowning many times. This is where you have actually a spasm that occurs in the organs of the throat. You can prevent water from getting in. But, here's the problem with this. There's other locations you look to see if there are, in fact, evidences of drowning with a body. And the biggest problem I have with this, Nancy, is that they have not had sufficient amount of time to do all of the testing, including toxicology, that they need to come back to. This is an incomplete investigation as far as I'm concerned.
So I took Nancy Grace's recent interview or, story about Riley Strain. It's very interesting, and I just got the highlights of it. But he talks about, the dry drowning I talked about, his cases that he's worked on, and of course, the 12 that were dry drownings. But what's interesting is Nancy presses him on that, and he, says that all of those cases, they had some kind of head injury of sorts. So that's kind of interesting.
Hold on.
Long time.
Oh, sorry, I meant to keep that pause. Sensei, so it's your son's birthday. I'm sorry, I just saw happy birthday, Sensei. So if it's your son's birthday, happy birthday to him. 14K in chat, please hit the like button for the Mob Crew. Thank you so much, Sensei, and your continued support. Member for 16 months. That's so awesome.
The circumstances.
You have individuals that go into the water, particularly in an inebriated state. This can particularly happen sometimes. And you can have individuals that have sustained trauma where this occurs as well. And generally, there's going to be some kind of neurological compromise when that happens. I'm very curious.
I don't know what that means. Neurological.
Well, that means that they have sustained a head trauma, perhaps. And I would be very. How do we know?
Because
how do we know that he didn't?
Reported in
it
the
wasn't
autopsy.
Reported. All right, yeah. Well, yeah, they haven't reported toxicology yet either. I think that it's very important.
So I wonder. So he's basically kind of saying that there is in the medical report that there's no head trauma. I mean, we don't know that 100%, but if that's true, then that kind of goes against the dry drowning arguments. It's kind of interesting. Lady M, good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Sorry, Chris Mods, Mob Crew, can't say longs. Something came up. I need to leave. Love you all. Thanks, everyone. Don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you so much, Lady M. I hope you have a great weekend. Appreciate everything you've done. Huge supporter of the channel. Okay. Keep going.
Pause. Either. Apples, oranges. Because you can look at the body and see if there's a blow to the head. Easy. You can't look at the body and know about toxicology. You have to wait until those blood tests or tissue tests come back. So if they're not noting in the autopsy that there's a blow to the head, then there's not a blow to the head. That's not something you have to wait on.
Right. You're absolutely right. And so I think that other things that they need to be digging into here, Nancy, are something that we look for in drowning, which are referred to as diatom testing, which are these little algae creatures that exist in water. That has not been released as well. I don't know if they're doing diatom testing there. Also, any kind of barotrauma, and what we look for is water in the inner ear. Many times this happens when bodies have been, say, submerged at great depth. And yeah, we get water in our ears when we swim. However, this is deep within the ear. And many times this happens as a result of forced pressure. I'm interested to try to understand why in the hell they have released this information so prematurely when they don't have a complete investigation done at this point in time. I'm still waiting.
So again, just for anybody that's kind of missed and just coming in, thank you guys so much. Got nearly 1,500 in here. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch the show. We're just kind of going over the latest interviews and updates on this case. They're saying the family still thinks that there's potential for foul play, and they want to see these new cameras, what's on the footage of these cameras. If you missed it, we'll show where those are at. There's at least 3 of them. One of them actually kind of points back and could possibly have picked whatever happened during that night up. When they found his body, he only had his shirt and his boxers on. I don't know about the Apple Watch. I'm really curious. I haven't mentioned the Apple Watch as far as I know. He had pants, boots, and wallet, phone, and belt, but all of those were missing. Now, some reports say that pants can come off with the body in the water, along with boots. or at least the boots. I think the boots are more or the shoes. I wouldn't say boots, but shoes are more common to come off. But he says with the belt being on the pants, he has a bit of concern with the pants coming off, especially with the belt on, which is very interesting. So one of my questions would be is, I wonder which way his body was going, and more importantly, when his body kind of ended up at this barge, I wonder which way it was facing. I tried to look up which way the body floats, and I couldn't find a definitive answer as far as if it's head first or feet first. I know that, you're face down. But it'd be interesting because the current, I showed kind of which way the current's going as we look at this diagram. I could kind of see if he was stuck this way with his feet towards downstream and he was stuck. And so you have this water flowing. He's stuck, and then it kind of builds up and it takes his boots and pants off. That's only kind of the way I could only see them coming off. But again, we don't know which way his body was facing. And that's just kind of playing devil's advocate, both sides, of course. But yeah, so then Joseph Scott's going to talk about the body and his experience and with the clothing and stuff. It's very interesting. We'll come back to the camera stuff. There's a few more things that we'll cover on that. This is one thing I found. When floating downriver, a dead body will typically face the bottom with its limbs hanging down. So obviously face down, your limbs are down. This is because the weight of the arms and legs drag the body downward. However, as the body decomposes, fills with gases. Now keep in mind, fills with gases, it kind of bloats. So the thing he has with the pants is as you bloat and you got pants on, you would think that would be even harder for those pants to come off, especially if they have a belt on them. So this is where they're really getting, they still think there could be potential foul play. And it goes on to say it'll eventually flip face up and become more buoyant. The most buoyant parts of the body rise first, leaving the head and limbs to be dragged from behind the chest and abdomen. So, kind of interesting.
Around 4,000.
Let me really quick here. Get caught up in chat here. Rena says there's a YouTube vid about thousands of stolen iPhones end up in China. Yeah, don't they part them out and then end up using stuff with them. Oh shoot, I just realized that blocks that. 1 second here. There we go. Okay, now when that thing comes up, it'll go over Riley. Let's see, where are we at? Is that Lila? I think that's Lila. Thank you so much for the $20 and becoming a member. I really appreciate that. That's so amazing. Thank you so much, Lila. Hope 8 Fear, good to see you. Thank you, Chris and Mods, member for 5 months now. Thank you so much for the continued support. Lila becoming a member. Thank you so much. Wallflower, really enjoy your passion to help the missing. I appreciate that, Wallflower. Again, this is kind of a team effort. I wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. And for anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, we'll be going out looking for Aiden Clune tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday. We just got a new drone, and it's a boy, 19 years old, went missing out of Wells, Nevada 2 years ago, and we're going to be searching for him tomorrow.
So out of 4,000 death investigations, you've had around 12 dry drownings. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's interesting.
And in those cases, did you say that often you found a neurological compromise, plain language, regular people talk, blow to the head?
It does occur, yes.
Did it occur in those 12?
to the best of my recollection, every single time they were compromised in some way, either from a head strike or from being inebriated.
Somebody I know is going into cross-examination mode, and that would be you. Because when somebody throws out to the best of my recollection, that means I may be right or I may be wrong, but I'm going to CYA. You're telling me out of 4,000 cases, you've had about 12 dry drownings. And in those 12 dry drownings, they had, as you say, neurological compromise, i.e. blow to the head. Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay. In regular people talk. No neurological compromise, no blow to the head, extrinsic evidence. He doesn't have his pants on. Boots would have just dragged him down to the bottom. His debit card is up near that homeless camp.
I don't understand.
His
I don't
wallet's gone.
understand what dragging him down to the bottom has to do with the condition in which his body was found and where he was found. It is possible for boots to come off. I have a real problem with pants coming off, though. I also don't know if his pants were belted as well.
So I'm going to pause it there. Susie, you are right. Do you have something stating that he definitely had a belt on? The interview I saw stated that he usually wore a belt, didn't state 100% he was wearing a belt. In a recent interview with Chris, he claims that he had a belt on. There's a more recent interview. But I do agree, Susie, how do we know 100%? Like, he could have been wearing a belt when they drove to Nashville and then went to the hotel and maybe got dressed up and then, I don't know, maybe had a different pair of pants and put those on and forgot to put his belt on. And unless there's, him at the bar and, it didn't seem like his shirt went down too far. So if he bent over somewhere or something, you'd be able to see his belt. So, but Chris did say, and I think I have the interview towards the end here. I think he does say that, they believe he had a belt on. But you're right, Susie. I don't think we can say 100%, unless like Chris comes out and says, yeah, in the bar surveillance video, he bends over, to grab a drink or whatever, and we can see his belt, or he's sitting down, whatever. So
that has not been addressed at all. And here's another thing: those clothes would have had to have come off early on, Nancy, because as the body is in
did they?
in
Okay,
the Cumberland
thank you.
for this protracted period of time, I think we're looking at a 2-week period. Forgive me for saying this, but the body will become bloated during that particular bit of time. That means that with the bloating comes tension, and so the body begins to swell. So the probability of the pants coming off as he's been in there for a protracted period of time would not have happened at the end or prior to the discovery. It would have had to have happened prior to. All right. So I think that that's something else that needs to be factored in as well. Leaves me with more questions than answers here.
So he's basically saying he could see it happening when he first kind of went in and was floating down the river the first week, and his body, still wasn't really decomposing yet, or the gases weren't, starting to fill up till after that, first initial week or towards the end of the second week. But yeah, again, we don't know exactly what transpired before that.
Dry drowning is also known as laryngospasm. As Joe Scott was saying earlier, how your larynx will spasm.
Boots, hard to pull boots off dry.
Would that spasm last long enough? If it unspasmed, would he ingest water? And if you drown, I thought the reason you drown is because your lungs are full of water. So how can you drown without your lungs being full of water?
You can drown without the water present in your lungs, because if you'll just think about, which we cover a lot of these cases, Nancy, asphyxial deaths, you're essentially depriving your brain of oxygen. And so that's going to be compromised. If he has any substances on board, that's also going to be another compromising position. But as I'd mentioned just a moment ago, and I think that this is important for them to explain.
And also, one more question.
Okay. So I paused it there. I think that was pretty much towards the end of Nancy Grace, unless I threw something in the middle of that. Oh, no, this is still Nancy Grace. Then they start interviewing Chris Dingham. I was going to say, oh, Mr. Beer, I hate to say this, but doesn't a body shrink as it decomposes? No, gases, you start expanding at that point. Now, further on in the decomposing stage, then if you, marina life, if you were still out there and hadn't been found, then your body's, I guess we won't get into that. I think in the further stages, Mr. Beer, but in the initial stages, he was at that time at 2 weeks. That he was expanding. Yeah, and I would think you'd wear a belt. I'm kind of the same. I'm literally kind of like the same body type. He's just got a few more inches on me. But yeah, I have to wear a belt because us tall, skinny guys, just better to have a belt. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. Dom, good to see you, buddy. Anyone find it strange the last two big cases dry? Two big cases dry. I'm not sure what you mean, Dom, but I appreciate the membership for 6 months. Two big cases dry. Are you talking about dry drowning? Maybe. I can't think of the other case though. If that's what
everybody's
you mean.
Talking about the boots. I have to let everybody know those are a size 15. And if you've ever had wet boots on or wet shoes, they're extremely tough to get off. That young man had a size 15 boot on. So
there he talked about the size of the boots, 15.
Puck 17.
And he said those kind of boots, like I said, I've never worn cowboy boots, so I have no experience with them. But he said that they were tough to get off. Yes, DFK. Hi, Chris. There's a photo from that night with his belt buckle. Interesting. I don't know if there's any way you could send that to me by chance or point me in the right direction. That'd be interesting to see. I thought I had heard about that, but I didn't want to mention it because I wasn't sure. This is exactly what I talked about yesterday because I have the same body type, and yes, I have no butt either. So, when you have a bottom, that helps to keep the pants on. But I guess when you're a tall, skinny guy like me and Riley, we lack that area. So a belt helps. That's so funny because we were just talking about that yesterday.
Kelly Avellino tells us that his family believes that they have found a significant lead, a brand new witness who is potentially the last known person to ever speak with Riley.
Weeks ago, I interviewed a homeless man who says he was on the river embankment below when he heard Riley stumble into a fence right about here, just before the James Robertson Parkway Bridge, where he was last seen. Now, that same man reported there was another passerby closer to the street who called out that Riley was okay, just drunk. Now, I can tell you, Riley's family has been trying to track down this other man who saw him right here for about a month, and they say they finally have.
Yeah, so let me just go back and see this diagram here. So you can see this is that second bridge, and his credit card was found right here. I know that's kind of small. And she's talking about the homeless person that they hadn't spoke to, which we talked about earlier. They finally found him. And his statement says that, after he kind of stumbled, whatever, he eventually just went on his merry way, continuing north. But obviously with the Birch camera, which is just, I don't know, like 40, 50 feet up, maybe a little longer than that, but not far, doesn't capture him. So, and if these guys were standing like right close to that bridge, they'd had to have seen what happened to him, you would think, right?
Street who called out that Riley was okay, just drunk. Now I can tell you, Riley's family has been trying to track down this other man who saw him right here for about a month, and they say they finally have.
A family friend here in Nashville says she and Riley's family on speakerphone met with this other homeless man on Monday. They say a detective also came out to speak with this man. She says the man said that Riley continued to walk beyond the bridge, passing the Birch building on the left.
He did see Riley, and he did see him walk all the way down the sidewalk to the corner as far as he could see.
Now, it's been said that Riley potentially fell right underneath the bridge, a steep and rocky fall, and ended up in the water. It's where his bank card was found on the riverbank, and there's also surveillance video from the Birch building that doesn't appear to show Riley walk by.
But if it's true that Riley kept walking beyond the bridge and didn't fall somehow into the river under it, then that raises more questions as to what happened and how he got into the water.
Until we have the exact information, then we're going to continue to think maybe he went outside the bridge, maybe he got into a car. Like, until we have the facts, we can only assume that he kept going, or we don't know that he fell.
Riley's family tells me they haven't ruled out foul play since Riley was found without his pants, a belt, shoes, or his wallet. And according to the preliminary autopsy, there was no visible trauma to his body that would potentially indicate someone having an extensive fall.
I was thinking dry as in like, and I know you weren't trying to say that, Dom, dry as in like, dry. So yeah, I was trying to understand the context. Yeah, dry as in no defined answers in Sebastian in this. Yeah. Yeah, Sebastian, in that case, complete mystery. Yeah, there's a lot.
Well, Riley's family continuing to wait for the official autopsy results to be released. Metro Police said the homeless man that they spoke to this past Monday was referencing news stories, and the other man who said he heard Riley fall said perhaps did not hear Riley fall at all, even though he had.
So did you hear that? So let me play that again if you missed it. So remember the original guy that said that he had saw Riley and a second homeless guy helping him, and he pointed out where that happened, and now he's supposedly retracting his statement. This is so weird.
He released. Metro Police said the homeless man that they spoke to this past Monday was referencing news stories, and the other man who said he heard Riley fall said perhaps did not hear Riley fall at all, even though he had told the family multiple times that he had over the course of a month.
3 p.m. last Friday, March 8th, getting kicked out for intoxication. Riley heads up 3rd Avenue alone, crashes into a pole off Church Street, and then stumbles onto Gay Street near the river, holding his head in some of the footage.
I seen the guy that went missing. He came down through here.
So this guy right here supposedly has retracted his statement. So I don't know. It just gets weirder. Are they just doing this just to kind of get attention, or if they were there? I mean, from what they're claiming, they're standing right there from whatever happened to Riley. I mean, 20 feet away, 20, 30 feet away. I just don't see how they don't know what happened to him.
Fox 17 News speaking exclusively to a transient man who lives along the riverbank, right where Riley was last spotted on camera per police, near the James Robertson Parkway Bridge.
We heard a commotion. We looked back up. He almost fell over. The last bush right there caught him. He was very, very, very intoxicated, I guess. I mean, he was stumbling hard. I've never seen anybody stumble that hard before.
So he says it's right here, which if we just pull up on this, that is right here. And if we were to go to the water view of it, we would see this is kind of where this fence line is where it's kind of like an embankment, very steep embankment. But then if we just kind of move a little bit down, it's a drop. And then somebody mentioned earlier in chat, yes, the water was higher. What was it, like 4 feet, I think I want to say, a little bit higher. but still, that's still a big drop. But yeah, if he went in on accident in here, still does not answer how the hell his credit card ended up way up. And it wasn't even down like by the rocks. I mean, she found it up close to the ledge up here, if you guys remember the video. So there's still a lot of questions. So we still got a little bit more to go
The
here.
man telling me he didn't check on Riley since someone else was already there.
I yelled up. They said, "No, he's just drunk. He's okay."
The man, who asked not to be identified, says he reported the entire encounter to detectives. He says Riley continued in the same direction up First Avenue. But then Riley's trail stops. Other security footage just a block up the way doesn't appear to show Riley.
Reached out Saturday afternoon to some friends of ours that was down there talking with the homeless. Actually gave a statement, him and another person, that Riley had come through there, had been stumbling, possibly stumbled into the little fence that's right there. They asked him if he was okay. He says, "Yeah, man, I'm just drunk," something along those lines. And they put him walking underneath the bridge north, passed through the detention center area. That was huge.
So then there's this little incident that happened. So remember, he walks past the officer at, they claim 9:52. And just to remind everybody, that was literally just down the street here. So just past this bridge here, you know, but a little bit more up here. We have Riley walking, and then, you know, when the officer kind of turns back around, he just disappears. But supposedly continues going this way. And then something happens here, whether accident or foul play. And, all right, just continuing here. And then we have the Birch building camera that's pointing kind of northeast. And at 9:56, so you'd think the accident would have probably happened if he was passing the officer, you know, depending if he started jogging again, which I kind of think he did. I think kind of walked past the officer, and then after, I don't know, 10 feet, he probably started jogging again. Or sprinting for whatever reason. So you'd say maybe whatever happened started happening around 9:53, 9:54. And then it's probably really hard for people to see. It's like the more I zoom in, it'll zoom in here. But 9:56, you have this guy running. Now it could be nothing. Again, it's just speculation, but it is interesting that you have this guy just kind of sprinting. So if there was possibly foul play, maybe they just, you know, he was drunk, and so maybe they were just taking things from his, you know, person, and then he fell over or whatever, or maybe they pushed him. But either way, it's kind of interesting. You have this guy kind of sprinting 9:56, and then everybody else that goes by are just walking casually, or they're on their bike. I mean, just because a guy's sprinting doesn't mean that's foul play, but the timing of it is a little odd. Yeah, April Robinson. Yeah, that's kind of the big thing is how. Because I'm sure the family knows the medical report, so there's clearly a reason why the family asked for a second autopsy. Something wasn't adding up. So just a couple more things here, real quick. Sorry, I'm just trying to straighten this out. Let me get to chat. I got a few more things and then kind of finish up here. Let's see. Somebody says we know he had a head injury. No, they're saying no. There's no head injury as far as they know. Oh, I mean, unless you're talking about the injury with the pole. Yeah. I guess you could say, yeah, he did have that head injury, but yeah, I don't know. I think his card fell out of his wallet when the wallet was thrown into the river. I think his card fell out when his wallet was thrown. So you're basically thinking some kind of foul play. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I'll recap a few things if you guys kind of came in late, missed a few things. June, I'm sorry I missed your thing earlier. Safe travels and hope you got new tires. I did. I got 2 new tires. So we are good to go. I got my wheel lock key, which is nice. Hope 8 Fair gifted 1 Mob Crew membership. Thank you so much, Hope 8 Fair. Britta Mad Hatter, good to see you. Good luck and Godspeed on your travels and search. We'll talk about that here in just a bit at the end. Audrey K, becoming a member and supporting the channel. Thank you so much, Audrey. Just kind of making sure I didn't miss anything. I think I've got everybody. Okay. So just recap a couple of things. Buddy will recover his last.
Boulevard will make sure.
We listened to the 911 call.
The bed, not the bed, but like is he partially in the water, partially?
But I just want to play part of the interview
his
one last
pants,
time.
his wallet,
just this
or
one,
his
the short
missing.
one.
His family also says he was wearing a belt that night, which should have kept his pants in place.
So there, see, as you can see, I know somebody asked about the belt. He says, yeah, belt. And then somebody said they might send me an email about
An
it.
autopsy by the Nashville Police Department found no obvious signs of foul play. It has ruled Riley's death an accident pending toxicology results, which take weeks. Riley's family says they're getting conflicting information from police in a case where security video and witnesses could help put the puzzle pieces together. Joining us now is the Strain family friend, Chris Dingman. He's been on this show.
So just kind of a recap of the whole entire show, but just in case for those that kind of came in halfway in, they want to get new footage. I'll show this and I'll play the interview, but we just go down the street here. You know, we had this camera footage, but it was kind of pointing northeast, so we couldn't really see what's going on, you know, in this dead zone. I mean, what are the odds that this poor kid, he walks blocks or runs sprints, you know, he travels many blocks, passes several cameras, passes an officer. You have multiple officers driving by kind of during and after that time frame. And the one place that something happens, there's no cameras or nobody saw anything. I mean, that's the story right now. But isn't that just crazy that, you know, if anything else, if we went a little bit further, something happened here, it would have been caught on camera. But anyway, so they're saying, see this building here, it's a detention center. Let me go, there's actually 2 cameras on this building. And I don't know if it would be able to catch what happened to the bridge, because obviously you got this building kind of sticking out of the way. So maybe you'd kind of get maybe to that bench, maybe. I'm not, it's kind of difficult. I guess you'd have to be looking at it from that view, but it's clearly kind of pointing this way, so it might have captured a little bit more back. But one of the bigger ones is this camera here supposedly faces this way, which would mean you would maybe be able to see what happened to Riley. So that's kind of interesting. And then they found the original homeless guy that supposedly last saw him, and this guy claims that he just continued on, which we don't know for sure that's
Hi,
what
Chris.
happened.
Welcome back. You've raised a lot of questions about video from several security cameras on a detention center in downtown Nashville. Why is this important?
The detention center is just north of the last ping on Riley's phone, and it was the only video that we had been released to the public about the sidewalk north of where Riley went missing. There's some really grainy pictures off on the side, etc. But over the weekend, we found out that that detention center not only has that camera, but possibly 3 more. We know of at least 2 that faces east back towards that. Plus, we've got a picture of one facing due south towards the bridges. So we would love to see the footage. Even though it's the sheriff's department, we now do have confirmation that there are cameras that was pointing back towards the bridge where Riley went.
Riley was last missing, or last, disappeared. So, yeah, pretty wild. I said, let's see what we got here. So we have 1,100 votes. Do you think foul play was involved? 67% believe yes. Again, the family, they're not coming out equivalently and say yes, foul play was involved, but they're not happy with the report. Stuff is not adding up, and I can't disagree. There are reports of, clothing coming off, in some regards, but then, Joseph Scott Morgan, the forensic guy, said, if he had the belt on with the pants, he finds that really hard, for those to come off. So very interesting. Not sure, 23%, and 10% think no, just an accident or some kind. So I'm going to end that real quick here. Oh, yeah, the Lady Bird Lake deaths. My goodness. We covered it when it was, I think there was 5 bodies at the time. Somewhere around there is probably maybe 5 or 6. And, yeah, there's been many more. Or I'm not sure how many since, but I've been hearing it. It's like, wow. What a wild case. Jelly Tot. I like that name. Thank you so much for becoming a member and supporting the channel. I appreciate that. So I'm going to finish it there. I'm just going to quickly discuss one other thing and then head out because I've got I'm pretty much packed and ready to go, but I need to take a sip and I'm starting to lose my voice. Betty Blue says night jogging. Yeah, that guy, at 9:56, it could be just a guy jogging. But the timing is weird, Like I said, it's just, what are the chances this guy, whatever happens to him, is in the one little dead zone that they have no surveillance? It's so strange. Just crazy. This poor kid and the family and that mother, oh my gosh. It's so hard to watch any of her interviews because she's just broken up. Yeah, that's what they're saying. Because clearly the family, I'm sure if there was head injury in the medical examiner, they wouldn't have a second autopsy done. Clearly they were not happy with the original one. Didn't make sense. And the second one, I'm not sure exactly everything. And then one other thing I forgot to mention is we're still waiting on the toxicology report. And it seems like it should have been, I know it takes usually 4 to 6 weeks is kind of like the time frame. But it could be longer than that. But we still have not heard from that. That'll be interesting. 'Cause, some people think he was slipped something. It's also possible. We know that they had supposedly went to a bar previous to that. So, we don't know how much he had to drink before he went to Luke's. But, still have dreams about this case. Yeah, that would be interesting. And then there's the officers that drive by around, it's like 9:54, and it's too bad I don't know, we don't know for sure if they had their dash cams running, but if they did, they would have probably picked something up, but I don't know. Anyway, guys, before we go out, I just want to mention this one last time. again, all your donations, support, even if you don't donate, just being here, hitting the like button, supports this channel. And in that, we are able to go out and search for the missing. And so this is our first case for this year, Zayden Kaloon. I'm going out tomorrow morning. I got to get up, so I got to go to bed here right after this show. But anybody in Utah or Nevada, near that area, here's the flyer. We're going to be out there for 2 days. So if you're interested in helping, she's got a fairly, I'm not sure how big the group is, but she has a decent group. But, you know, with that kind of area that he went missing in, you can always need more. But 19-year-old Aiden Clune went missing a month prior to Dillon Rounds in Wells, Nevada. And there's been no sign of him since, no trace. We went out last year looking for him. Didn't find anything. So hopefully, if he's out there, I've got a much better drone, thanks to everybody pitching in. And if he's out there, hopefully we find him. Tree Squirrel, good to see you. Have a good trip, Chris. Thank you so much for the Canadian $10. Michelle, thank you so much for the $5 super sticker. So I think that about does it here. If anybody donated PayPal or Venmo, I'll just make sure I didn't miss anything. Just let me know in chat. Sometimes I don't get them. But with that, we're going to head out. For the members, Patreons, I'll probably have some stuff. I may try to do a live over the weekend. There's really no service once you get out into the mountain range, so I don't know if I'll be able to go live, but I may do a live when I'm driving out there or something, or maybe for members or something. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. Oh, you're talking about the Kansas City guys. Oh yeah, no, actually they had the toxicology report came back, and the friend did something in that. The Kansas guys that froze to death. If you guys are wondering about the update on that, yeah, the toxicology report came back. They had stuff in their system, and if I come to find out, that friend that owned the home or was renting the home, yeah, he was a scientist. He was creating drugs and. Yeah, so he clearly provided them the drugs, and they overdosed. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm sure the families are going to press charges. So I'll have to check into that case. There's just so much going on. You got Sebastian. They just found Dillon Rounds. Yeah, a lot going on. Then Delphi. Oh, my gosh. Now you're going to talk about that. So... anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for the support. Have a wonderful weekend. I love you guys. And we will maybe have a surprise live over the weekend. Not sure. If not, we'll be back Monday. So, with that, I'm going to play the outro. And love you guys. See you soon.